Belief is such an important thing to have. Like, if you don't believe you're gonna succeed, you won't. If you don't believe money is easy to make, you won't get it. Like, ever since I was young, I felt like I was destined to become successful. Freedom was so important because me, I hate being told what to do. You have to be here at a certain time. Like, I just like the whole freedom, choosing when you want to work, choosing the type of work that you want to do. And I just knew, even when I was like in my college years, that was like the most foundational, where everyone was going out, they was having fun, and all I knew was I had to build something great, and I knew that I had to be successful and make it for my family, and I needed like to build it for myself, because that's some aspiration I really had for myself. I was minimum wage, and I remember using my whole paycheck on that course, and it was like 997. And I remember it was like I didn't even think of it as such a huge load. I knew that money was going to come back 10 times over.
How would you say your life has changed since you started the business?
It's changed so much. Like, I managed to leave my job, so I now work for myself. I've made multiple six figures doing things that never would have been possible if I didn't have the money and income and everything. You can literally change your whole life in a year.
Just quickly before we get started, guys, if you've been enjoying the podcast, can I please ask that you consider leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on whatever platform you've been listening. It really helps the podcast grow. All right, welcome back to another episode of Life, Money and Love. So we have a little bit of a different episode coming to you today. We have one of the amazing young entrepreneurs that are part of the viral brand builder community. Her name is Balkisa Mohamoud, and she's the founder of I'm Proud of You, a brand that empowers your mental health journey through their Let It Go journal. Now, it's our first ever Zoom podcast as well. It's not something that, you know, we're going to make a habit of doing. We like to keep it in-house, and it's going to be a little bit shorter than usual, but I'm just so proud of obviously the journey you've gone through and the growth you've experienced. And just for me personally, I want to know more about that journey, kind of fill in all the gaps of the stuff I don't know. And something as well, another reason I really wanted to have you on, obviously we tried to make it work in person in London. We had some issues with studio times, but why I think this is so valuable for people is that I want to have people, entrepreneurs, people at all stages of the journey come on and talk about where they are, the emotions they're feeling, their current challenges, what's exciting, what they're working through, rather than it always just be about the finished product 5, 6, 7 years in. So I'm really excited to get to know a little bit more about you and the journey you've gone on with the amazing brand and everything you've done over the last bit of time we've been working together. But before that now, you're one of the first people to join the Viral Brand Builder community when we launched in May, but that's skipping a little bit ahead. So I kind of want to go back a little bit before we get into it. But first of all, Balkisa, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for giving us your time and coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dylan. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm excited to just talk and like inspire like everyone else who wants to start their own journey.
100%. And another thing as well, what's so awesome about your journey, and this is skipping ahead a little bit, but I've had moments like this, big, medium, small. It doesn't all have to be like massive moments, but something that was so cool to hear when we were chatting a couple of months ago prior to the London trip was like you had written in your goal sheet one of the things you wanted to tick off to be on the podcast one day. And you didn't tell me that until I mentioned I wanted to interview you for this. So it's like just those little moments when people write down their goals and they see it come to fruition. That's the stuff that, you know, lights me up, that gets me out of bed. I changed my life. Like everyone knows, I was like a pretty lower middle class person, and I wrote some dreams down and some goals down. And as they start happening, you realize, holy crap, there's no limit to this. So I thought that was cool. Now, to start off, take me back I want to know, what was the first moment that you thought to yourself, you know what, I want to start a brand of my own, and what was it that inspired that thought from you?
Yeah, I feel like the thing that inspired me to start my own brand was like I used to be like such a big fashion streetwear. I loved it. I actually had like when I was 15, 16, I wanted to start my own clothing brand. But around that time, like I didn't have like enough funds to kind of like start it up. So I remember like that around that time, like I was in year 10, year 11, and I was just in the planning stages. So I was like, oh my God, the next summer I'm officially able to get my job, because you have to wait for your national insurance. So I was waiting till that. So then in that summer I got a care job, and all the funds that I made within that summer, literally used that to fund my clothing brand. And I remember like, oh my God, this brand is going to be like the biggest brand. It's going to be in New York. It's going to have fashion shows. Like I used to be such a big vision visualizing all that process. I was so excited. So I came up with the t-shirt. I started with that. And then basically with that whole social media, the marketing process, that's what initially got me really excited. And when I was doing the clothing brand, I noticed that it was really complicated in terms of setting up inventory and all of that. And I was realizing, okay, this may be a lot more difficult than I initially planned. So I was like, I need to gain a lot more skills to, when you want to have a successful clothing brand, you need sales. And that's something I was lacking. So I was like, what skills do I need to learn in terms of growing this brand, which was marketing, social media. So I was just like, let me just wait in terms of, let me just take a pause with the streetwear clothing brand and let me just build on those skills. So around that time, that's when I started my marketing agency. I was learning how to do media buying for other brands. I was learning how to do social media. I started my marketing apprenticeship around that time. So I was leveraging all these skills and like knowledge and just basically growing that. So it was, by the time I started this brand, I had all that knowledge, everything already planned. So it was like the perfect time.
I love it. So you're another person who has done a little bit of an e-commerce apprenticeship, learning all the skills that make part of it. And then that set you up for so much more success. Now, that's a part a lot of young entrepreneurs these days want to skip. They just want the first idea to be that $1 million brand and change your life straight away. And that's why sometimes I'm a bit of a bad example with Happy Skin Co, because it was my first brand and it did pop off really, really quickly. But I'm not trying to brag, but where Happy Skin Co's journey was the exception, not the rule. If you want to back yourself for success, the much more predictable way to do it is by one step at a time. Your first business is you and your mind and your skill set. And that's obviously shone through with everything you've done. Now, so you mentioned you were like year 10 when you first started thinking about, okay, I want to get into business. You're really inspired by streetwear. Does that mean you were always a kid thinking back to like your childhood? Did you always know you had that like entrepreneurial bug that you wanted to start businesses, or was it only once you got to high school and you had a little bit more exposure that you thought, that's it, I'm gonna do that?
Yeah, I think it definitely started. Like there was this one moment when I was in year 6 and it was basically the Queen Jubilee. I don't know what exactly the year we were celebrating, but we were celebrating like such a huge milestone. So I remember that our teacher set us like this project where we had to kind of like design merchandises all about the Queen Jubilee. We had to design our own creatives and stuff. So I started to see like all the artwork and everything printed on mugs, plates and everything. And I just found it so cool, like to see like my living creation that I did printed onto a physical product. And I remember we had to all go into the basketball court because that's where we was all like selling our stuff. And I remember just selling it. I was like, oh, this is something I designed, and showing it to like the parents and everything and selling it. And I just remember I found it so much fun and it was just so exciting. And I was like, I can see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And then there's something else that happened like a few years later when I studied business for my GCSEs, so around year 9, year 10. And then we had like a Subway marketing class where we had to come up with our own Subway. We had to do the marketing behind that, the social media. And I just remember just loving it. I just loved the whole idea of having a brand, marketing it, the social media aspect, designing the actual bread, what's going to be inside it. How do I want the customer to feel when they're eating the Subway? And I just remember all those little moments when I was in year 6, throughout my secondary school, throughout college, when I was also studying business A-levels on there too. And I just remember like, I just can see myself doing this for the rest of my life, especially there's no caps in terms of money, in terms of freedom. And I just knew like, this is something I wanted to do.
I love that. Now, you just mentioned money and freedom. The freedom part of starting your own business, obviously people think freedom doesn't mean you don't work hard. Like most people that have a business work much harder, or I wouldn't say much harder, people do work hard, but much longer hours than people that were doing a normal job. But how important to you, how much of a motivating factor was that freedom element where you can work from where you want, you can work on the projects you want, if you want to design things you can. How much of a motivating factor was that element of freedom for you?
I feel like freedom was so important because I hate being told what to do. You have to be here at a certain time. Like, I just like the whole freedom, choosing when you want to work, choosing the type of work that you want to do. And I knew that was so important for me. And especially like working on building someone else's brand was something I knew that I never just wanted to do. So I knew that was so important, especially wealth, like especially because there was such a lack of it when I was younger, and I saw like family troubles. I seen like money was such a huge issue, and especially being parents of immigrants, like I had so much responsibilities when I was younger, especially like managing bills. So I was seeing like the realities of life, seeing how much council tax, rent, all of these things at such a young age. So I knew how scarce money was when I was younger. So I really had to change my mindset in terms of wealth and seeing it as more of an abundance, because I knew when I was younger there was such a lack of it. And I knew that's all I ever wanted was to make it for my family, to get as much money as possible, to retire my mom, to do these things where I'm not really struggling. And I knew that's the only thing. So money was such a huge motivator, and especially freedom.
I love that so much. I love what you just said then. With taking on that responsibility, and I know what it can be like from an immigrant family, a lot of pressure or responsibility can be put on the children, because you've come to this new land with a lot of the time nothing, and you need to all, pull your time, resources, skills together to help the family get by and then start to progress in life. Do you feel like doing that made you or helped you grow up at a younger age? Because some of the thought process you're explaining from someone in school is quite beyond your years.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I just knew, like, ever since I was young, like, the way I thought to my classmates was so different. Like, they used to, like, argue or have drama over little things. And I just remember, like, none of this is actually going to be meaningful in the next coming years. And I just knew, even when I was, like, in my college years, that was, like, the most foundational, where everyone was going out, they was having fun. And all I knew was I had to build something great. And I knew that I had to be successful and make it for my family. And I needed, like, to build it for myself, because that's some aspiration I really had for myself. So especially because I had so much responsibilities, I felt like that made me grow up really quick, because I saw the realities of life. I saw like things that adults see in terms of that. So it just made me realize that I need to work hard. All of these things that I can sacrifice my teenage years, my young adult years, while I'm working on building something. So for the rest of my life, I'm really set, especially when I have kids in the future, when I have my future family and everything. That was what was like the most important thing. So it was like the way other people viewed stuff was like so much different, because I was like, I don't really care about having fun right now. All I care about is like learning skills, building up my workload, and building something successful in terms of business, building up money, investments, and learning all of these things. I know they're going to set me up. So I'm currently like only 22 years old, and I started my actual entrepreneurial journey when I was only like 16. So it took me all these years just like learning the foundation of mindset, wealth, all of this, like reading books like Rich and Dad and Poor Dad, learning all these books and learning and setting my mind up for the future. So that's kind of like what really motivated me, seeing the realities of life when I was younger and pushing me for the future now.
What I really love about that is a lot of the time when people don't come from a background where they had a lot of money or a lot of wealth when they were younger, it's common for them to get that motivation to want more. Like a lot of ambition, a lot of drive, a lot of our goals come from, lack or insecurities that we had when we were younger. But what that works as a motivation for a lot of people, me included. I didn't have, a lot of money. And when I say a lot of money, like for me, what it meant, like we always had food over on the table and a roof over their head, but like we were restricted with the things we could do. Like, we could never go for an international holiday. If we went for like a little holiday interstate, that was a big deal. I always wanted to be able to do things that, we didn't have the opportunity to do. And for me, that's the freedom part as well. It's not just about freedom. I can work when I want. The reason why building wealth to me and a lot of people that think and feel the same about me is that the wealth that you make at the end of the day, that buys you the freedom to be who you want, to work on the things you want, to spend time with the people you love. That's part of it. And to go back to your point, what I wanted to ask you is that is a key motivating factor, right? But and that I feel like that's a positive thing, that motivation that comes from not growing up necessarily with a lot of money. But in terms of the money mindset and the abundance mindset, where people can get stuck with that if they didn't have a lot of money, they can be really motivated to work hard and secure that. But once they start earning a little bit of money through business, their mentality of, money's so hard to come by, I need to hold on to it, I need a penny pinch, I can't take risk, can then be a detriment and be a downfall. But we know, as we research, the law of attraction and developing a good relationship with money, if you want to have a lot of money and attract a lot of money, then money needs to move freely into and out of you. How have you navigated that? Because I know you're such a positive person with an abundance mindset. Have you had any moments where you looked back at things you were doing, maybe the way you looked at risk or the way that you were just acting in certain situations where you realized, wait a minute, I'm thinking this way with respect to money because of how I grew up, and it's not really the way I want to be in the future? And have you had to make any adjustments with that sort of thing?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that's something a lot of people like face in terms of, because they've comes from not having much when they were younger. Even when they do have a successful business, they end up losing it all. It's kind of like the same people who win like £1 million in the lottery. They end up losing it because they didn't build that abundance and like that mindset in terms of money. And I knew from such a young age that was something I really needed to work on. So it was like kind of like positioning myself that money is not not as like important, in terms of if you put money in a pedestal, that's when you're starting to like not put yourself in the same level as money. And I knew I had to see like money as a source of energy. Like money is just everywhere. Even like when we're talking like this is all because of money. Like money just literally everywhere. And I always think of myself like as a green glowy light, and there's just money surrounding me, and it just comes so easily to me. And I remember when I first started my marketing agency when I was around 17 or 18 after the clothing brand. And I remember like I had to start investing into courses to learn how to start a marketing agency, how to like even actually start the whole marketing aspect. And I remember I didn't even have that much. So that summer, I think, no, it was not. It was the other summer after I had the marketing apprenticeship when I started. And I remember my whole paycheck I was minimum wage. And I remember using my whole paycheck on that course, and it was like 997. And I remember it was like, I didn't even think of it as such a huge load. I knew that money was going to come back 10 times over, because I'm learning so much in terms of skills and knowledge and everything, and it was going to set me. And I know if like other kids my age had that sort of money and they were going to invest into a course, they never would have, because they would have been like, that's just a waste of money. There's no point of doing it. But I knew that course was going to pay for me like 10 times over. And I just had that I knew I had to build onto that mindset of not seeing money as such a lack, in terms of just seeing it like it's everywhere. Like money just everywhere. It grows on trees, and you just have to see yourself like not as important as money. So that's kind of like how I worked with it.
All right, guys, just quickly, I've got some news. I've spent close to the past 18 months building the ultimate program that takes you through the complete process, and I mean the complete process of launching and scaling your very own e-commerce brand from zero all the way up to $1 million plus per year. And now with this program, what you're going to get access to is 15 modules with over 100 training videos and 23 hours of in-depth content, taking you through everything you need to know to build a successful e-com brand. And this is the important part. This isn't just stuff that you can look up on YouTube. This is stuff I've taken from real lessons and experiences building Happy Skin Co. from zero all the way up to an 8-figure per year brand. You're going to get access to loads of custom tools, templates, and calculators that I've used to build and run Happy Skin Co. There's going to be one-on-one mentoring with myself and other expert coaches. And there's also weekly group Q&A calls with myself to make sure you're feeling completely supported throughout the entire process. And now what I've learned from consulting to everyone from people starting their very first e-commerce brand all the way up to brands already doing 7 figures plus per year is that there's a process and a framework to follow if you want to be successful with e-com. Now, if this is something you're interested in, hit the link below and go to join.viralbrandbuilder.com. All the information's there and you can book a call directly with me. Otherwise, send me a DM and we can chat there. Anyway, let's get back to the pod. 100%. And it's such a great example and analogy you gave, because when you're starting in your business journey, whether you're late teens, early 20s, or whatever, late 20s even, it doesn't matter, wherever you are on your journey, when you start to make those conscious shifts in life, people can be hesitant to, invest in themselves, invest in programs, education, mentorships, because they want to really hold on to their money, like you said. But when you're just getting started at that journey, any investment that you can put into yourself, leveling up your skills, your mindset, your relationships, that comes back to you tenfold later down the line. And that's not just from people like myself saying that. You look at some of the best in business, Gary Vee, Alex Hormozi, they both preach this. And it's like you need to, any investment in yourself is going to come back so much more. But you mentioned you read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What was the initial kind of books or anything that you kind of read or watched that started to help, progress this forward for you?
Yeah, I remember it was definitely like The Secret. And it was like when I remember when I was watched that movie, The Secret, I was just like, whoa. Because I always believed in manifestation and visualization and like setting a vision for yourself. But it was at that moment when I watched that I was like, everything just started to click. Like when they was talking about like health, money, business, and just seeing like the things that you manifest, they already exist, just waiting for time to catch up. And it was just like everything started to click. And it was like since I watched that movie, which I believe was 2020, I just started to take like law of attraction manifestation real, and I just started to read more about it. So I used to read books about Gabby Bernstein when she was talking about money. I was reading The Secret. I was learning about the subconscious mind. I was just learning about all these different things. I was like learning so much videos about Joe Dispenza and the different meditations that he did. So it was also around that time when I started to take meditation seriously. When I was doing his Joe Dispenza's meditation, tuning into new potentials, I was literally putting myself in the future. And it was like since then I just started to see like huge changes in my life. I was seeing in terms of business, money, career, everything. I just started to see myself attracting all of these stuff just because I set a vision towards myself and I started to visualize with it. Even when you said at the beginning of this podcast, me setting that intention and that vision to have this to be on your podcast. And that was because I intentionally did that, and now it's manifested. And just seeing your manifestations and everything that you want to attract into your life as it already being there, just waiting for time to catch up to it. And I just started to see a huge change in my life when I started to see things as it's so easy to come into my life. I'm such a lucky girl. I start to attract all these blessings and they're just everywhere. Like I just like when you're a positive person and you have like such a positive aura, things just happen to you so much more easily. Like it just comes to you and you just see it and it's like it's just normal. So it's crazy when you start reading books, like all these books, it just the way it changes your mindset and everything. So mindset is such a huge foundation if you want to become a successful entrepreneur. Otherwise, you might end up losing it all.
100%. And like you said, setting the intention and getting clear with it makes things happen so much faster. Like we only first connected, we started working together in May. It's you set that goal for yourself. It's now October and you've already done it. Like see, in a matter of months, you're ticking off goals because you're getting clear and you're putting that energy out and you're committing. I can see by the look on your face, by the way you're speaking. You're not saying these words because you read it in a book. You truly 100% believe them. And that's the trick. But and I don't even like to say the word believe. You know, I don't believe these things. I don't believe in the law of attraction. I don't believe all these things can happen to me. I know it can. Like when you get that internal knowing, it changes everything. It takes the pressure off. You can enjoy the journey more. You know you'll get there. And like you said, like a lot of people I work with or have potential calls with to be part of Viral Brand Builder, we'll do the application call and they, you know, it's not necessarily a generational thing, but it's just a pattern that I've noticed. They want to skip that whole working on themselves, improving their mindset, leveling up their skills. They'll just want to know, no, give me your best 3 tips for e-commerce because that they think that's going to work. There's no shortcut in this business game. Yeah, there's a few, you know, tips and tricks that can help you along the way. But if you don't set the foundation for yourself by doing that inner work and leveling up your mindset is the biggest thing, like you said, and skills in all areas of whatever sort of business or career you want to pursue, then that's the foundation. Now, let me ask you this question. I feel like I know where your answer is, but with this business, now, would you say that your journey started with the business, or would you say it started with your own personal growth journey many years before?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I would just love to touch up on belief. So I just wanted to touch up because belief is such an important thing to have. Like, if you don't believe you're going to succeed, you won't. If you don't believe money is easy to make, you won't get it. Like, ever since I was young, I felt like I was destined to become successful. And I didn't even know when. Like, I just remember like growing up, walking through like my neighborhood and everything and just looking through it. And I just used to take like mental pictures for it because it's like kind of like I'm documenting the journey because I knew eventually like I'm going to be talking about my story. So it was just like I had such a like strong belief that I was going to make it. And it was just like it was destined for me to do it. So that was something that really had a factor in my success today. But my success actually started from 2020 when I started my personal growth journey. And because around that time, that's when I was learning about The Secret, the manifestation and everything. all of those skills and those meditation and mindset work that I did, such as journaling, meditation, doing walks, doing all of those things leveled me up as a person. I gained more skills and my mindset was just so much more powerful. So by the time I started, I'm proud of you. All my mindset work, I believed that this was going to be successful. I never had any like kind of subconscious or limiting beliefs that was going to stop me from getting to where I wanted to do. Even with certain projects and tasks and with some of the products and stuff, I had so much confidence in it. Even when I started with the Let It Go journal, I was so confident. Like with my first product, I only ordered like 300 units, but with the Let It Go journal, I ordered 1,000 units, and I didn't even sell initially the 300 products from the other product. So people were looking at me like they were like, "Are you crazy to go from 300 to 1,000 units?" But I had such an unbelievable belief that this product was the one product that was going to get me to where I wanted to go. So I was so confident. Like, even though I spent like so much money on it, I knew that money was going to come back to me because I was so confident like people were going to love it. And it's crazy. Like, as soon as I launched that product, it just took off and it was crazy. Like, I just had that belief and it came true. And sometimes belief is what drives you. And if you believe something, it's going to come true. So, and that's kind of like how my journey started. It's just starting on my mindset, and then it leveled up to me in terms of my business. And this business opportunity came to me, and like the idea came to me when I was mentally ready. Because I feel like if I started this business when I was in 2019 or 2018, when I was younger, and I didn't really work on my mindset and everything, I would not be where I am today. But because I put that growth in and putting that work in every single month, that year, throughout those years, it built the person I am. So by the time the opportunity came, I was already ready for it. It's kind of like if you are wanting to have some kind of desire or some kind of goal, but you're not the type of person to have that goal, you're going to kind of sabotage it at the end of the day and you're going to lose it all. But if you're the type of person who already has that thing, it's just going to work because you're in the same frequency, you're in the same alignment, you're in the same, like, it's going to be more easier for you. So you're not going to sabotage it. And I feel like with me, this opportunity, this idea came to me when I was in like the perfect place and I was the type of person who already had that thing. So it's kind of like all due to alignment and setting yourself up. So that's kind of like where it all started.
Exactly. You just said something, hit the nail on the head. You have to already believe you are that person. You have to believe you deserve it. And not even that you deserve it, that it's just a matter of time. Like when you do these visualizations, when you experience these moments in your head, it feels like you're time traveling. Like that's the level that you need to get to, because once you get there, the journey becomes so much more enjoyable. But it's so strange. I've talked to a lot of people that have had their dreams start to come true, and they all say, once I fully believed and once I fully had trust and I had no more doubt, then life just figures itself out for you. The universe starts to make things happen for you when you get out of your own way. And the limiting beliefs that come from our experiences, our childhoods, by our own self-doubt is what really is such a detriment, something that stops us achieving our goals. So it's like, I speak a lot about self-belief, and I wish I could bottle, like there's a lot of things, and you listed them, some of the things that you can do to build self-belief. But like, if you can bottle self-belief and you can give that to someone, I feel like you're halfway there, you're 80% there. It's just getting to that level. But for whatever reason, society, the system, our career, whatever, kind of beats that out of us a lot of the time. And you really need to refine that. Now, you spoke about going on your personal growth journey. It's funny, mine started with we were watching The Secret as well. I just had Cooper, who's going to be on the podcast going live next week. He started with The Secret. I know it can be a cliche, and you might think, the law of attraction, what is that crap? Trust me, give it a try, and just give yourself permission to believe. Just try it. Just give yourself 3 months. Give yourself 6 months of putting the belief and trust out there, and do the research, do the work, and commit to it. And you'd be surprised how quickly life can change and how quickly you can start manifesting your goals. Now, talk to me about some of those positive changes you made in your life. You mentioned the walks, meditations, kind of your whole attitude and mindset. What were some of the changes you implemented into your life that you feel like has become such important pillars to the woman you are today, and a foundation for the success that you're starting to have and will continue to have throughout the rest of your life?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I feel like the biggest thing that impacted me and in terms of made me the person I am today was actually like just like accepting my situation. So for example, like around that time was like I was really like depressed, I was not happy and everything. So it was kind of like accepting it and kind of be like, okay, this is where I'm at now, but what can I do to change it? You can be like really negative and like see this as kind of like being that victim mentality, but what are you going to do about it to actually change? So I remember around that time is like, if anyone's like currently like struggling or don't like want to like, you don't see like a positive changes in your life, what you're going to do right now is like limit, like write down everything that's limiting you. For example, like if you don't have a certain good routine, if you don't have good habits into your life, what is it, like everything that's holding you back? Write it all down. And then what you're going to do is what changes can you do to impact that into a more positive way. So I remember with me is I used to watch TV a lot. I used to eat a lot of junk food. I used to do all of these things. So I was like, I really need to change that. Especially when I want to grow a successful business. I can't be watching TV all day. I need to have a good routine. So I started with having a good routine. I was like, what are some certain habits I want to implement into my life? So I was also reading Atomic Habits, and he talks about habit stacking. So I remember I created a morning routine and an evening routine. And I remember I had to stick to those things because they were the things that were the most important and that were actually going to create me a good change in my life. So I remember I was like, the type of person that I want to be, they wake up at a certain time. They do this in the morning. They do this in the evening. So I said, okay, my future self, she wakes up at 5:30 in the morning. She gets out of bed. She goes on a walk first thing in the morning. When she comes back from her walk, she starts to meditate. She's in already a high spirit energy. She's meditating. She's visualizing her future. She's writing down her goals. She's getting into that mindset and everything. And when I'm in my visualization, this is the most important thing, is to actually feel it as if it's already there. Like feel all the emotions and put yourself in that mindset. So I remember I would visualize, I would script. And once I do that, then I'd literally go to basically my workplace and I'll do my first deep work block. And I remember saying that the person I wanted to be, they're super focused, they're disciplined. So it was like everything that I was doing, I was becoming more very conscious of my actions. So everything that I knew that was negatively impacting my life, I became conscious. I was like, should I do this right now? Do I have to really do this? Or can I do something that's going to impact me more positive? So the more actions and the more things that the small little things that I would implement into my life, like just be more conscious. So I was like, do I really need to be scrolling on TikTok right now? Or could I be doing this certain work? Or be doing this? And then it was kind of like the more I chose the more positive habits, the more like I was starting to build more confidence into myself. It's kind of like what Alex Hormozy says, you don't shout affirmations in the mirror and that's how you believe into it. Is by doing the actions are going to lead you into a more positive way. So it was like I was doing the actions, and not only was I doing the actions, I was being it. So the type of person I said was disciplined, she's confident, she wakes up in the morning, she's an early riser, she's focused, she's all of these things. And I just started to be her, and I started to make my actions align to her. And that's when I started to see a huge change in my life. It's just by doing the actions my future self would be doing and just carry on doing that.
And the consistency of doing those actions reinforces the belief more and more and more. And that's what Hormozy talks about. Now, a great exercise that I learned from my martial arts journey is very similar to what you just mentioned. It's an exercise where you think to yourself, okay, what does your dream life look like, 10 years in the future? Okay, what do you look like? What's the type of person you want to be? How do they act? How do they approach certain situations? How do they communicate with people? Like you said, what's their morning routine? What's their nighttime routine? What's their thought process like when something stressful happens or a problem comes up? How do they deal with that? So you get that image really clear in your mind, and then you think, okay, where am I now? How does that differ from my actions and behaviors today? And you see that gap that you have between how you are today, your habits, your behaviors, the way you react to things, and that person you want to be. It's about closing that gap, and every day, like you said, committing to acting and thinking and doing the behaviors of that sort of person now. And at the beginning, it might feel a little bit forced, like you're doing it artificially. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it, it becomes more and more natural. And before you know it, you're acting and behaving like that person that you want to be, that dream version of yourself, living that dream life. And that dream life is never going to get there before you get there. So if you can get yourself there earlier, you're going to manifest and you're going to be ready to, like you said, ready to make this business a success and ready to take that next step in life. So I love so much about your mindset and the way you've approached this whole growth journey. So let's get back to the business journey now. You've gone through all that work, which I can't recommend enough and praise enough. That needs to be one of the first steps to anyone changing their life, working on yourself and changing yourself from the inside out. Then it'll start to manifest with your business, with your relationships, with if you're an athlete, with your sport, anything, no matter what your dreams are, that's the core, and everything will bleed out from within you. But from the time you say, you know what, I'm going to start a business again, a brand, I'm ready to do that again. What's your process from that point on? I know you had the fashion label that you were starting. Again, like you realize, one of the big lessons from that journey, fashion is really hard as a first business. It's extremely difficult. There's so many considerations, and the margins aren't what they are in other industries. I imagine that might be something you want to do later in life as you progress with your career. But you go on to your marketing agency, you do that, and now you think, okay, I'm going to build another brand. Did you already have this personal like growth or mental health journey journal in mind, or did you have to start thinking and strategizing, okay, what's going to be the perfect product for me?
Yeah, so 100%. So it was like around 2020. So it was just like everything that I said, like just before, like in terms of setting like your future self's intention, like what's their morning routine and everything. So around 2020, when I was kind of like at my lowest state, that's kind of like when I started to journal just for myself. So it was like I set those frameworks and those templates in the bullet journal. So it was like I was writing down my habits, I was writing down my morning routine and evening routine, making sure that I was ticking it off. And it became like more repetitive. Like every week I was just filling in the same pages again and again and again and again. And I started to see like the huge changes within my life. And I noticed a lot of people on TikTok, especially because I just was watching it a lot of people were in the same state that I was before. So I was like, this journal, these templates that I set for myself, they can impact people in such a more positive life, just like the changes I did within myself. So I remember the same exact bullet journal templates I created it on Canva. And I remember finding manufacturers and everything on Alibaba, and I found the perfect manufacturer. And I remember saying, I want to order a sample of this. And so she basically did that. I came up with the design and elements and everything. And I remember seeing like my designs with the sample. I was like, yo, like this could actually become a business. So I was like, let me actually be serious about this thing. So I remember it was like around April 2021 when I was like, this could be a business. So let me actually like set up the foundations to actually do it. What are some things I can need to do? Setting up a limited company, setting up the social media account, setting up the domain. So I created like this whole checklist within myself. So I remember, okay, so what do I need in terms of how much units do I need to order first? So I remember I ordered 300 units, and I remember I didn't even have money like that. So I remember I was like, oh my God, like how am I going to actually fund the start of the business? Because I remember it's ordering like the minimum order quantity can be a lot. And so around that time, I think I was still on the apprenticeship wage, and I knew that was not going to be enough. And I was coming towards the end of me finishing it. So I remember like, I think 2 months later, so it was April, like June, around that June time, I actually got a job for a tech company. So I was remember, oh my God, such a huge pay rise increase. This is the exact thing that I need to. So I remember like, I was such a huge risk taker. So I used all the money that I had for that first month of salary, used that to initially fund the first cost for the 300 units. And I remember starting that. So it was while I was in production, while I was getting made. So I was like, what do I need to do in terms of marketing, social media, setting up all the accounts. I started posting the content and getting those first instant those email lists, making sure that I was setting all of those things up. And it was like initially when I got all the production and all of that out of the way, and I was starting now, I'm in the sales period. That's when things just started to skyrocket and everything. So it was now 2022 when I first officially launched. So it was January. So everything was laid. The limited company, the social media accounts, the domain, the website was all done. All the email flows, everything was all ready. So now it was for me just to go. So I remember that first initial month of January, I started to get a few sales, friends and family from the social media accounts, from the initial email list, and I started to see some sales. But it was like around that time I wasn't really focused on the business. Like I was still like having fun, I was still like focused on my career, my job and stuff. So it was like I wasn't really focused, so I wasn't giving him out all like my full potential. Like if I knew like I was making this kind of content and the sales, so I was just like, okay, let me just carry on. Then it was like a couple months after, like it was August, I was literally on my walk. This is what I'm saying. Like, if you're on your walk, this is when the best ideas and creatives and everything came. And that was the exact moment when I thought of the most perfect product that A, had like such a good marketing angle, and that two, was gonna have like a huge problem solver. And I remember still around that time, I would still be journaling, doing all of these things. And I noticed a lot of people had a problem, was that they wanted to start to journal, but they didn't know exactly where to start. And I was like, everything clicked. So I was like, let me create a prompt journal. So I remember I was so excited. I came up with the design, with the content and everything. I remember like even though my other products didn't do well, I was like, let me change the whole foundation of the business and the whole mission. Instead of it helping people become the best version of themselves, let me focus on mental health. That's it. And well-being. And that's kind of like how I created the product and the whole foundation and changing it. And then now that I had like more of a purpose and it's more unique compared to other businesses, that's when I saw like huge success. So when it came to launching the Let It Go journal, it was like everything was ready. Like now I was ready, especially to handle the success, because I was still working on myself like every single day. So when I launched the Let It Go journal, I think the pre-orders was open December of 2022. And it officially launched January 2023. And I started to get so many sales. I started to get so much more money that I've never ever seen. I started to see it hit the bank balance. And it was just crazy just seeing that initial success. People loved it. Like I was getting so much followers, likes, everything, and sales. It was just crazy.
Talk to me about that first, like, really busy period where sales started to pop off. I remember doing it because, like, you can see it hit your Shopify, and that's one thing. But then when you check a couple of days later and it's genuinely in your bank account, you're like, holy crap, like, this money is mine. Like, it's there. I can go spend it now if I wanted. What was that moment of your life like? I look back so fondly on that, first year of Happy Skin Co, because your life is changing before your eyes. And I really love what you said as well about, like, you committed to this 300. You didn't even really have the money to do that yet. And then when you did get that job and you got that pay increase, you used your whole first month's wages to invest into that. So many people would be like, that's, 50% of what I have in my bank. That's too big of a risk. When I put in the investment, and then same thing with George, when we started the business all those years ago, we put 10 grand each. So it was $20,000 each for us. And like, I had like $1,000 left after that. That was like 90% of my net worth at the time. And people say, weren't you scared? Wasn't that such a big risk? I say, no, not at all. The risk would be staying in a life and in a job and in a career and a path where I'm already not fulfilled. What does it matter if at the end of the year I've got $20,000, $30,000 in my bank if I still trade a big portion of my life doing stuff I don't enjoy? So it's an important part in like that, taking that risk and like taking that leap of faith. Is your life's not going to change until you do that. So a lot of people want to come to me and they'll say like, I want to change my life, but then you dig a little bit deeper and they're not willing to take any risks. Well, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. You need to make a change if you want to see a change in your life. Now that moment, that period in your life when you're doing those sales and you're checking the bank account and you're seeing how many people are following you and all the views you're getting and the sales come in, explain how you feel. What sort of validation is that for all this hard work you've done over the past years, not just on the business, but on yourself? Explain that kind of period in life for me.
Yeah, 100%. So I set the goal to launch the new product January 1st of this year. And I remember, so I think end of December was when I set up pre-orders. So I remember initially, like before December started, I was on my walk again and something clicked. I was like, if I get so much orders the way I'm visualizing and manifesting, I don't have the money to fund those shipping and stuff. So I was like, I need to set up pre-orders. So I need to set up the funding and everything. So I remember I quickly did that. I set up pre-orders like 2 weeks before. And because I was already building up the content and November, December, I was building up those content and seeing it, it just gave me that validation. Like, yo, like this is actually like everything that I imagined, especially because I went for having the 1,000 pieces and ordering that. I was like, this basically aligns with everything that I said. The thing that I believed in myself, it validated that. And it just made me feel so good. Like people were just so obsessed. They were like, I want this. When is this going to launch? I was like, don't worry. It's going to come January 1st. Get ready. And seeing those initial pre-orders coming in, it just validated me. And it was like, this is actually going to be a huge success. So I remember the end of December, I made 5 grand. And I was like, especially if 5 grand was a lot to me around that time. I was like, I've never made this much money, especially seeing in my bank account. I was just like, whoa. Then the next month when I first initially launched the product and when I was being ready to ship out, seeing people make videos and everything. And in that month, it was crazy because one of my videos went viral, especially in America. So I was just getting orders every single second. Like it was going up. I remember because I had the Shopify notification on. So like the ching, I remember leaving it on in the middle of the night and just hearing it on cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And that made that same day, I made like 3-4 grand. So I was just like, whoa.
So good.
And for the Aussies listening, 3-4 grand, double that when it's in pounds, like double that. And that's like, isn't that just blows your mind when you realize that you have the potential to create wealth for yourself and you are in control of your own destiny. It's such I even still struggle to find the words to explain how transformative that period is in someone's life when you start doing it. And that's why it's like, I'm so passionate about this stuff, because like that feeling you got, like that rush when like your life's changing before your eyes. I don't know about you, but I feel like that was the most exciting period of my life. Like I felt like I'm free and living my truth for the first time.
Yeah, 100%. And that month, like I ended up even selling out of the product. So I made like 18 grand in total and even seeing more than 10 grand because when I had my marketing agency, 10K was everyone's goal. Like, let me just hit 10K a month. Yeah. So when I hit 18K, like close to 20K, I just remember feeling like, whoa, like I made it. Like I'm so like rich, you know? And I just like was so excited. And I was like, I sold out and this was everyone's dream. And I was just like crazy. Like I had such high dopamine. I was so excited and I was just so pumped seeing like all the initial success. So it was like ever since I launched, every month on month, it's just been growing, selling out, being back on stock, just seeing the, like, just people like seeing the way they're obsessed with the product and seeing it actually, having an impact in their life, and 2, being good for the business was just like the best thing. Having like that purpose and also like the money, the financial thing was just being like the best feeling because I'm getting fulfilled from all the success that the journals bring in, seeing the reviews come in, seeing these people's lives being changed, and 2, like all my money and everything, my financial and everything's changing. So it was just crazy, like just seeing like month on month, the results just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just been crazy this year.
So how would you say your life has changed since you started the business?
100. It's changed so much. Like I managed to leave my job, so I now work for myself. I've made multiple 6 figures. I'm like being like I'm now starting to grow like a team. Like I'm seeing like huge changes. Like even just doing things that I never thought would be possible in terms of financial decisions, doing some product ideas, doing things that never would have been possible if I didn't have the money and income and everything. Seeing like my videos and everything getting millions of views, seeing my followers growing, seeing the kind of followers in terms of the people who buy my product, just seeing it, like imagine like I'm just on my For You page, I see a video of someone using my product. That's just like the most insane feeling ever. And just seeing these, I feel like your life can truly change in a year because this time last year, I became redundant from my job. So it was like 2 weeks after, that's when I found my other job. So it was like I didn't have any money. There was no success with the business. I had no like in terms of all the goals that I had this year, I never had any of it. I was like really low. I was like, oh my God, the business and everything's like not going as well as I thought it was going to be. I had no income coming in, nothing. And now who I am this year, where I'm able to earn a lot more money than I had previously. I have a multi 6-figure business. I'm now growing my team to 1. I've grown it to like 1 or 2 members, and like I'm seeing all the success in terms of social media. It's just like crazy. Like you can literally change your whole life in a year.
Within a whole year, that transformation is so inspirational. But like, take me back to that low moment, right? Did you have any self-doubt? How did you get through that challenging period? Like, what was the thing that drove you through it to somehow still believe? And then little did you know, within just 1 year's time, everything would be different.
Yeah, 100%. So it was just kind of like that self-doubt when it comes in, it's just like that nagging feeling, just saying to you, look at you have all these goals, you're not living up to your potential, and all these negative thoughts will start to come in. And especially in those moments of doubt, I kept on telling myself, the Lego Journal, don't worry, is going to be launching very soon. This is exactly what's going to lead you to your success. Have patience, Balkisa. You're going to make it out, and just keep believing in yourself. Just like don't lose faith. Trust the process. You knew it was destined for this. Life is not going to be like smooth sailing. You're going to have some turbulence along the way. Just keep patience, have faith, keep going, and don't give up. So I remember like around that time when I got told that I was made redundant. I was feeling low. I was like, oh my God, all the income that I had for my month and everything is all gone now. I have 2 weeks left to find another job. And I was just like, okay, Balkisa, you can't do nothing. Don't stress, nothing. Just keep taking the next step and next step and next step. Let me just start to apply for jobs. And I remember by the time I left my previous job, which I made redundant from, I found another job. So that initial income was like now saved, and now I could fund the marketing aspect in terms of ad campaigns and everything for the Lego journal. And it was just like having faith, just taking that one step after the other step after the other step, and just having that faith and trust in the process, and just knowing that if you feel like you're destined to get somewhere, you are going to get there. Just having faith in the process, and just waiting for it, and just being patient, because I feel like that's a huge thing, like having patience.
Absolutely. And one of the incredible things about your journey and your success so far is that so much of it is all from organic content, from the content you've put out on Instagram and TikTok predominantly. This is not someone who started a business and just ran heaps of ads and had a decent ROAS. This is based off a lot of you showing up, creating the content. Now, I went on your page just before, just to have another look in. Before I even had to scroll, there's 2 videos there with over 2 million views. So clearly, and the further you scroll back, like, you just built an amazing community with an amazing purpose behind it. Loads and loads and loads of videos that have gone viral. What do you put your success on TikTok down to? What would you say is your secret recipe to success on TikTok?
I think it's definitely having that emotional element. Like, especially like with the Let It Go journal, like it makes you more like emotional, like you're letting a lot of stuff, you're releasing on that. So what I do is every video I make, I capitalize on that. I create angles for that, because I know the exact person that's going to want this journal. I need to let them know what is it going to invoke on you. So I feel like having that strong hook, especially at the beginning of the video, is what really drives the sale. And especially within the content, the questions it asks you, you can literally think of it while you're watching the video, and it just makes that emotional element, and it connects you with the journal and everything. And when you look at the video, all you want is to buy the product. Like, you want it. Like, it's so addictive. Like, and especially like you see the reviews and everything, you're seeing it impact other people's life. You're just like, I need this in my life. Like, especially like I'm struggling really right now. I want to let go of things. I don't have anyone else that I can talk to. This is the exact thing that's going to help me. And it makes you have that emotional connection to the journal, which then makes you want to buy it. And I feel like using that angle, that's what's really drove the sales and the whole views and the followers and everything.
And how long were you posting on TikTok before you had your first video go viral?
I think it was December. I feel like I've always had videos that went viral, but it's like within the product, when I first started like making videos about it, it just started to go viral, because it was just like that emotional connection, and especially because there weren't other journals out there in the market. It just started to get views after views after views after views. It was just crazy. It was just like that snowball effect and that momentum building. So I never saw it like it was like this long process. It was like as soon as I launched the product, it just started to get views like crazy, because it just had like such good elements, and especially having a great product, it just sells itself.
And like, where were you when you first realized, hey, you posted, and then you check your phone an hour later and you're like, what? Like, talk to me about the first time a video went viral. It's normal for you now, and it happened from early on, but surely that first time you had to be thinking, holy crap, like, this is so crazy.
Yeah, 100%. So it was like mid-November time when I was kind of like initially teasing the Let It Go journal. I was saying it's going to release January 1st. And so I started creating the Let It Go page. And I remember like seeing the followers. I remember setting myself a goal just before I launched the product. I said, all I want is 1,000 followers. That's it. By the time I launch it, which is going to be in 5 weeks, I just want 1,000 followers. If I hit that, sweet. So I remember like setting that goal, and I remember just making a video every single day, and I was seeing it hit 10K, 5K, 20K, 100K. And I just remember seeing the views, and I just remember like in the middle of the night, like I would just feel so happy because I can just see all the notifications coming in. And I remember checking my followers and saying, I just hit 1,000 followers in a few days. Like, this is crazy. I set to myself this goal to get it in 5 weeks. I hit that in a few days. I'll see myself get 1,000K, 2,000K, 3,000K, 5K. By the time I launched, I already had 10K. So it was so crazy just seeing that snowball effect. It was just like the best feeling ever. I'll just be walking in such a high, and I'll just be like, whoa, like everything I'm thinking about is coming true in a way that I never thought would be, and such a more faster way. It was crazy.
But see, the thing is, if you gave up a year prior, you wouldn't have got to experience all these great emotions or the payoff for your hard work. And that's like, I think that's the message for the people that aren't where they want to be in life. It's like, if you give up now, or you give up on the dream, or you throw the tools in, you won't get there. It's like, you could be so close to your life changing, but you need to continue to be persistent, to believe in yourself, to put in the actions and the work that's going to propel you forward. You're just another example of how massively quick that can happen when you stick to the plan and when you believe in yourself. Now, everything hasn't been straightforward. Now, one of the things we've spoken about since we started working together was you did a bit of a rebrand. Now, I think from the way you've done that really, really well. You've done it in a considered way. I know you engaged with the community and got their thoughts first, but I've seen a lot of brands mess up rebrands. It's not always super straightforward. Talk to me about when that came into your mind that you felt like a rebrand would be beneficial, and then how did you go about that process? I know you engaged with the community. Maybe you can share a little bit about that thought process and how you actually navigated it, because like I said, I think you did really well with it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I think because I set myself, like every 3 months, I set myself new visions and new plans. So I remember saying to myself, what do I want to achieve by this time next year? What do I want to achieve in 5 years? And I felt like, is everything I'm doing today, is it going to lead me to go there? And I remember I had the name Become Her, and I said that's going to be really limiting, especially because I don't want to only service to females only. I want to service to everyone. And especially with the whole branding aspect and everything, I thought it was so like boring in terms of the colors and everything. So I just thought, let me think long-term vision. What's actually, especially because I wanted to use the word "I'm proud of you," because everyone wants to be like told like, I'm so proud of you for everything you've accomplished. It's such a positive word, and that's kind of like what I wanted to be in people's life. I wanted to be that positive, safe space online, helping you along the way. And that's kind of like what I wanted to do. So I went backwards. I was like, okay, this is what the name I wanted to be of the brand. These are the feelings I want to do. This is going to be the new brand identity. This is how people are going to recognize it and everything. And it was like, initially, I just started to set those task lists and set those bullet points of what I wanted to do. So it was like, I had to, because I was also out of stock. So I had to change up the whole product and add the name of the new brand. Especially with the new product I'm about to launch, I had to add the new brand element and everything. So it was just like everything was just starting to align. Everything just worked perfect. And I have a Discord community full of my customers. So I remember saying to them, what do you guys think of this brand name? What do you think of the mission that I'm on? What do you guys think of all of these things? And they just loved it. And it just set myself and it validated the whole process. So I just went along with it. And even though it was scary at first, it was like all positive and successful.
Oh, massively, massively. And I think, but you navigated it in the right way. Some people can rush into things, have one thought, make a rash decision and do something that actually wasn't beneficial. But the way you approached it was very mature and like someone who had been involved in business for a much longer time now. Obviously, we'd been working together, so I know some of these things. You just mentioned, I was going to ask you, are there future products in the pipeline? Obviously, the goal for a lot of people when they're getting into business, into Ecom, it's great to launch like a one product brand, have a hero product. But then if you want to make this into a bigger long-term brand, obviously adding future products is part of that journey, right? What sort of timeframes do you have? You don't have to share what they are on this podcast, but what sort of timeframes do you have for potential new products that you'll be releasing to the market?
Yeah, 100%. Around like the end of this month or early or mid-November, that's when I'm going to be launching my next product. And I just know, you know, like how I had the same belief with the Let It Go journal. I just know this product is going to be doing twice as better. And I'm just having these faith and these beliefs within these products. And it's just like those moments where you're kind of like in that creative zone. That's when the product ideas come for me. And especially with my new product I'm about to launch, it was like something that was on my mind. But I remember like just having this thing that I just like, it sparked one day where I was just like, let me scrap everything I had. Let me just work on this idea. And I remember it took me one day to come up with the product idea, the whole design and everything. I was like, this is going to be a banger. Like, I just know it. I believe in it. And I just started the whole designing element. I quickly sent it off to my manufacturer, ordering the samples. And it literally took me like, I think 2 months to go from designing to start in production, and now it's about to launch. And I'm just so excited because just having this faith in these products, especially knowing that it's going to be a good product, it has some kind of marketing angle in terms of creating content with it, in terms of doing some ad campaigns with it, in terms of different creative angles. Just having these belief in these kind of products, it's just going to set forward, because that, with that same belief is what comes with the success. And that's what I saw.
I love that so much. Now, tell me this. We look at like a 5-year vision for the brand. Now, if everything kind of works out as you've seen it, as you've experienced it, as you've planned it and seen it and lived it in your mind, what does that journey look like? Where do you want to take the brand long term?
Yeah, 100%. I think about this a lot of the time. And I just see, I'm proud of you being one of the top mental health or well-being brand. I just see it being a part of everyone's everyday life. Not only do I see it as a product company, I see it also as like a media element. Having the YouTube channel where I'm talking to my customers, having some group conversations with some of the other products that I want to come up with in the future in terms of card games and card conversations and everything. I just seeing it being part of everyone's everyday life, especially with my new product, is something that you carry with you every single day. And I just see myself eventually like having apps and everything, and just being that number one mental health well-being brand, where it's like you feel less lonely, you feel more positive, you feel more happier. And I just see it just becoming one of the biggest brands in the world. Like I just have so much confidence in it, and I just see it just changing people's life for the better, and just having like one of the strongest communities in the world, and just seeing like everything that's I'm already building the foundations. I just see it one of being the strongest brand in the world, having been the top brands like in terms of the mental health and the wellness era. And I just see myself working with huge influencers like Selena Gomez and Bella Hadid, who are all like primary, like they love mental health and they love the whole message behind it. And I just see myself just working with these huge influencers and just being like such a good place in this earth, because I'm helping people, and it's just amazing.
Let me tell you this, I believe you and I believe in you. So I've got absolutely no doubt that you're going to make this continue to come into fruition. But I want to ask you a question now. We've talked about, the journey, a lot of the highs, a lot of the exciting things, but all entrepreneurs, whether they've had a successful start to their business life, even though this isn't your first business, we all have challenges, right? We all have challenges that come up along the way. Answer this for me. What do you feel like with this business journey that you're on? What's been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome? It's something I ask a lot of people. And then how did you overcome it? Because the problem sometimes with people when they get into business, they don't realize how much of business is problem solving. And then they're like, you know what, I'm going to give up at this challenge, when potentially if they just stuck at it another few weeks, another couple of months, they could have had a breakthrough. And like yourself, a year later, their life is completely different. What would have been one of the biggest challenges you can think of that you overcame, and how did you get through it?
Yeah, I definitely think inventory is something that I struggled with, especially at the start of this year, just being in and out of inventory. So what that helped me do is, like, with that same problem, was becoming better at managing inventory, being good at forecasting and stuff, and being good and setting certain systems in place where you're not running out of inventory and you have good systems in place. So that was a huge problem and something that was like really setting me back in terms of growth, in terms of the start of the year. Another huge problem was kind of like having faith and not letting doubt creep in those times of the slower months. So I remember July was the first slowest month of this year, and I remember like not seeing as much sales and like not seeing as much followers and views and stuff. So it was just like having that faith that there's certain times of the year where you're gonna have the same sales period and everything, and just keeping faith and doing certain things that you can do to make next month better. So it's just like when you have slower months, having faith to still keep going, because you can't think just because I'm having a sales month that's smaller than the other months, thinking you're going to fail, the business is falling apart, I might as well quit, it's not going as things. But just having faith to just keep carrying on going, keep doing things that you can do to elevate the brand, keep doing things that are more better in terms of setting different angles and creative that you can test, and just keeping faith that this is a normal, and accepting it and just keep moving forward.
Those cycles are very normal, very, very normal standard part of business that happens. I'm excited for you as we approach Black Friday, Christmas period, what the big months look like. And because not only will you make more sales and obviously more money, but your products really are doing great for the world. So that means more impact in the world, more lives changed, more people feeling better about themselves, more connected to themselves and other people. So that's exciting. We'll have a last few questions and we'll wrap this up. But you're just talking about your vision for the brand, how much you believe in it. Let me ask you this now. Having a brand that you're so connected to the purpose and the journey and the mission of it, the mental health journey, making people feel better about themselves, more connected. How important is it for you? How much of a part do you think it's played in your success and you being able to put so much of your energy and your soul into that it was a business and products that fulfilled you and you genuinely cared about rather than just whatever random product that you found on Alibaba?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like this business is my purpose. So it's like I can have as much slower periods as I want and I will still keep on going. Like I would never, I don't ever see myself giving up within this business. And it was like I was also just speaking to my mindset coach a few days ago and he was working on some mindset shifts that I can work on. And he's like, with your business, do you ever feel like you need discipline to do the work? And I was like, I really don't need discipline when it comes to my work. I just enjoy the work that I do. I love it. I wake up every day just excited to do the work and tasks that I have set on. I'm excited to see the impact that it's having. It's just so much fun and I just love it. And especially even when outside of work, I'm always working on things that are helping me with my mindset. All of these books, YouTube, podcasts, I love it. And I just feel like because I love it and so much and I'm still doing it outside of the business. And I feel like that's what's really growing the business because I'm elevating myself and it's making me have so much more ideas that I can bring into the business. And because I love self-development and self-improvement and it's just who I am, it just makes me never want to quit and just keep going with the brand and just making it turn into something beautiful where it's actually having really huge impact and just impacting millions of people in the world, which is what I want to do.
That's one of the things I really love and respect about you is that how dedicated you are to personal development and growth and seeking out information and people, mentors, mindset coaches, things like that to enable you to level up. Now, you've already mentioned a few books, Atomic Habits, The Secret, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. As someone who spends so much time living in this realm and learning and educating themselves about this whole world of self-growth, self-improvement, are there any books or podcasts that have been a helpful part of your journey that you'd like to share or recommend to people that are on their own personal development journey?
Yeah, 100%. I would definitely recommend your podcast, Stephen Bartlett's podcast, Ed Milet. I love Ed Milet. Every video that he posts, I'm watching it. Everything that he says about maxing out, just doing one more, and especially his whole idea, you're more closer than you think. Because he says if you knew your goal was just 1 day away, 1 week ago, is gonna be just that close away, you'd be running, you'd be sprinting, and it's kind of his whole mindset and approach is what I do every single day, and I use that to help me. Even with this year, when I'm setting the intention of my yearly goal and everything, who do I want to achieve? What do I want to achieve in terms of monetary goal by the end of this year? I remember he says you can do what you can in 5 years in 1 year time. So I remember saying myself to do by the end of this year, even though I've never done it, let me set myself a goal to reach £1 million. And if I get even close as that, that's still a huge win. And I remember saying I could do 1 million or I could do 100K, but I knew 100K would be just so much more easier and it wouldn't be making me think outside the box. So I was let me set a huge goal and let me just work to doing that. And now this year, I'm more closer to that $1 million goal than to the 100K, and just learning from these people like Ed Milet and Tony Robinson and Joe Dispenza. That's what's really helped me in terms of just thinking big, dreaming big, and taking huge action towards it and just thinking outside the box.
I think there's people can learn a lot from just hearing the way you move, the way you go about life, the way you educate yourself. Another question. So you seek out a lot of mentors in different areas of business and life. And I think you're a testament to that sort of mindset and approach. What would you say is one of the most beneficial parts about being part of the Viral Brand Builder program, the community?
Yeah, one thing that I love is having that access to you and the course. Within the course, especially I always go back to in terms of the meta campaigns, the influencers, in terms of also the skill element. That's what's really helped me in terms of the media press and everything, and just having that direct line access to you whenever I have questions in terms of stuff that I want to do, especially I told you, in terms of Q4, how can I really drive up sales? This is going to be my first proper Q4. How can I set the foundations and the systems in place, having that direct access to you and the course has been like really fundamental in terms of scaling and growing, and it's been really helpful, especially if you're talking to someone who's already there where you want to go. That's like more like that's everything.
100%. And that's, I'm the same in life. Like wherever you are, you're never the finished product. In my belief, you always have somewhere to go. I still, in my life, I look up to people in different areas of life who have a life that I want to get to and are experiencing success and business success and growth, whether it be with their businesses, with their podcast. And I do the same. I model and try and learn from them. If you can get access to those people, whether it's working for them for free, enrolling whatever mentorship programs they do, or a mindset coach like yourself. Look, you're 22 years old and you're speaking like a much more older, more mature person with so much more experience. And I think if people did half the amount of work you do into growing in all areas of life, they could start seeing really, really amazing results and progress in their life. So we'll leave it there. One thing I just want to say is, like, I'm so proud of you and how far you've come and how far you've still got to go. But watching you grow and learn and develop and hit more and more business milestones as we go month to month, I'm grateful to play a small part of that with you. And I'm excited for you to keep on keeping on, to keep making this vision a reality. Because like I said before, it's not just, you'll get personal rewards, you'll get more financial and business success, which is great. But with your products and your mission and everything you're doing with mental health, you're making a real positive impact in the world. So thank you for being you and doing what you're doing, and keep going. And I'm excited to watch the growth continue for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, I really do appreciate that, especially because I first met you in 2020. Not met you, but like online, seeing your video on the founder and seeing you talk about visualization, and that already, even like the way you visualized and everything, like just the certain goals you set to yourself, like thinking of the different steps and everything, that had such a huge impact. So seeing myself 3 years later being on the same podcast with you, it's crazy. Like, if you guys have a goal currently, set that intention and just work towards it, because it's so much closer than you think, and you will genuinely get there if you genuinely believe you are.
I love it. And I think that's the perfect place to leave it, Balkisa. Thank you so much. I don't know how many podcasts you've done, but you speak like a pro already. I'm excited for you to grow in that business profile that you're just getting started. You are a special person. I'm excited to, as I said, watch you continue to grow in all facets of business and life. So thanks again for coming on, and I'm excited for this to go out and everyone to hear your story and your journey.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor, and share this with them, and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.